Hi, and welcome to this special mini episode of Behind the Counter. I am your host, Michael Boroff. With me, as always, is Richard Catterjohn.
Hello.
As you may or may not notice, we are presently not actually behind a counter. We've actually had a lot of people in the past year or so ask us.
Yeah, especially at the conventions we go
Especially
to.
at the conventions, you guys are called Behind the Counter. We watch a show, but you're never behind the counter. Why is that? Well, the truth is when the show first started,
At the Comic Connection.
2002, we did start the show off behind a counter. And as time progressed, we kind of lost our counter. But,
We've been store hopping and around. And
Yeah.
We really appreciate Mark letting us film all the time.
they're at Alter Ego.
But the logistics at the store just really doesn't permit
Yeah.
us from filming behind that counter.
Yeah, and the truth is in those early episodes, which, by the way...
Yeah, it was at the Comic Connection. Like I said, when we filmed, we were behind the counter, and we filmed on Thursday nights, usually.
Yeah.
Sometimes Saturday afternoon. And we just let the customers walk through and become part of the episode. So, we
That's
just
how I
did
got
it.
involved.
Oh, yeah. And anybody or everybody could pop on this show.
And the great thing is like almost everybody that was on the show, me included, like at some time worked at the comic book store. So, it was like he said, we actually got a chance to talk behind the counter. And the reason I think why we've kept the name is
A little nostalgic.
a little nostalgic, and the idea of being behind the counter and talking to people, when we worked at the comic book store, it's more, like you said, nostalgic, but it's more like metaphysical. It's like whenever you're talking to somebody about comic books, you always feel like you're,
Behind the counter.
Behind the counter. So not only that, Richard.
Yeah, I've been going through, and some of the episodes have disappeared on us because we moved from one video hosting service to another video hosting service. So we lost some episode. I had a hard drive crash, so I lost some digital copies. So I don't have all the digital copies of a few episodes. So I am going to go back, but I do have the original VHSs that was actually played on the local access, because it was a local access show.
Yeah.
We weren't on the internet back then. In 2002,
There was no internet. I mean, there
2002
was,
video,
but-
the video
yeah.
wasn't on the internet then.
Yeah.
So we was actually in Lima, Ohio, on the local access channel, channel 11, right after the other show and in between everything else. And so I have these copies, so I'm going to start redigitizing them, starting with episode 31, the Sean Forney episode. So we'll start putting them back up. If you notice, I put some that was like 55, 55.5, 56, and 57, stuff like that. Those are up there now. We've been experimenting with those. I actually had digital copies of those. So those were digital imprints, but now I'm going to go back and try to digitize, so everything should be out there eventually, except for probably the episodes that were originally filmed for Google. We actually went to Google Video in 2006, and I cannot find those yet, but I'm going to look for them. I have to have the originals.
And if you get a chance to, I know what you're thinking. It's like, why would I want to go back and watch old episodes? You want to go back and watch old episodes for the simple fact that they're like time capsules. We're talking about relevant stuff like, oh man, this Rob Liefeld guy is going to go places. He's going to be spectacular.
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh God, yes.
David talked about Ultimate Spider-Man
Yes.
every week.
So, if you get a chance to on our Facebook page or on the UVN page,
Correct.
If you get a chance to check out the old episodes, and now you have a little history of why we are still behind the counter, even though, like, currently, right now, we're in my living room, aka the Fortress of Solitude, which is sad if you think about it, but just keep in mind that behind the counter is more than a literal interpretation of being behind the counter. We feel like whenever you're talking to somebody anywhere about pop culture, comic books, movies, there's that interaction of it's like the geek version of the water cooler. The counter is the geek version of the water cooler. So there you go. Why behind the counter was, and will always be behind the counter.